we discussed last time I was here. There's a process, of course, there's a emphasis on the presiding member to manage the meeting circumstances, but in the event of breach, inappropriate conduct of meetings, and this is consistent with your procedural bylaw, we request of the presiding member to ask for the behavior to cease. You could consider a motion of censure by council, or the member could be expelled from the meeting. Again, you know, that was the most extreme, but you know, it's important that exists, right? So that there are consequences for behavior, and then consequences for serious breaches of the performance expectations, such as release of confidential information. It's not only a performance expectations, but a statute. Improper use of influence, conflicts of interest, discreditable conduct such as bullying or intimidation can include a motion of censure, reassignment of the committee or other civic appointments and duties, or limitations on access to the staff or to municipal resources. And I just have this added piece of caution here at the bottom. I mean, if it is a serious breach, there are other actions that might be appropriate legal actions, or actions that the public might take. And there are important procedural steps that you might want to take. And I have not laid those out. I've just suggested that, you know, that is a time for you to get some other legal advice or advice from your staff. But there are, you know, there's good, I gave you good legal references. So there are grounds for taking these actions. And there are communities across province that have done that. Yeah, Bill.
Page 10, meeting preparation. Fourth bullet. Councilors and the right to notify the mayor and city manager in advance of introducing any significant items or information at a council meeting. Never, I think what that is. What is in advance? Because we're talking, it says here, introducing any significant, so it's not insignificant, it's significant.
Yeah.
What's in advance? What is that? The 5 minutes before the meeting, 15 minutes before the meeting? What's in advance?
Well, here's the principle. The principle is that it's not helpful. It is at times not helpful and productive for a big chunk of new information to be dropped on the council table at the meeting, right? That it doesn't serve your purposes of constructive business if you do that. So that's the principle. So again, you know, it is for you to decide. I mean, it depends on each, you know, how significant the information is. If you have this practice of doing the gotcha thing, right? Like, okay, I'm going to hold this information close to myself, and I'm going to drop it like a bomb on the council table, and you know, and I gotcha council, right? I mean, that's just not serving the purposes that you are elected to serve. You know, it might make you look good at the moment, but it's not going to be really a constructive way of doing business. So, you know, this expectation is that you will take the best interests of the community into your mind, and to the extent you're able to, you will reveal that information to all of council in advance of the council meeting. I'm assuming that this is not, you know, you passed the deadline for the agenda, so you've received some new information, then it might be helpful to contact the mayor or to distribute it to council, because that will be the way that you can live up to your commitment to serve the best interests of the community and the corporation.
So thank you. What I find is when we present remotely Thursday, that's fine. So the amount of time available between then and Monday nights at 4:30 or 7 can be relatively challenging when there's something, like something's come up. Like that. But when something comes up, and this is, I'm only speaking to the in advance part.
Yeah.
I understand something really serious can happen on a Thursday or Friday or the weekend or Saturday or whatever. And oh my goodness. The whole part for me, the only is in advance.
Yeah.
What is in advance? What is that?
Well, rather than keeping the information to then reveal at a council meeting, that you would provide it in advance to the rest of the council.
In advance of the council meeting.
Yeah. Well, if you're asking, is there a way to define in black and white terms what this means? No, there's not.
That is
What it is intended to do is to give you guidance. So if you have information, you have two choices. You can keep it and reveal it at the meeting, or you can reveal it before the meeting. That's what in advance means, right? In advance, before the meeting. So, so the guidance that's offered here is if you have information that you think is going to be significant and important to a discussion, that you would reveal it early rather than late. Right? So I think Fred?
I think part of the reason that Councillor Bessel asked the question because of an incident or an occasion happened on the 5th, to be exact, where I ended up making a motion that some of the colleagues, probably rightfully so, felt not enough notion was given in advance. And this was a circumstance where, and it was an important motion to me, it was a circumstance where I thought that the matter at hand was finished on Friday, that something was out of the scope, it was cancelled. On Monday morning, the day of the committee of the whole meeting, I discovered that that was not the case. It wasn't until 11 o'clock in the morning that I was sure that something was different from what I had on Friday. More phone calls were received, some phone calls myself. I asked staff to assist me in the construction of a motion that I wanted to make that night. That motion was crafted by staff and was sent around at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to me. And
404.
404.
404.
Okay, 404. Short time, no,
Yeah.
absolutely no argument with it. But the long and the short of it is that it was a motion that would only be made at that particular meeting, or
Right.
it would have been useless.
Right.
And so this is a circumstance that I obviously would prefer to deal differently
Yeah.
with and do it in a time fashion that was acceptable to everybody. It was just not you.
So that,
And so how do you deal with that?
yeah, so I think the story you've told is exactly what you'd want to do. I mean, every effort was made to give council heads up, right? Within the circumstances and the reality, you know, there's some decision making that's made on Monday, and then you go to the staff, and then, you know, you work on it, and then it's distributed before the meeting. I mean, that's what to me, that's exactly what you should do. I mean, you couldn't have done that a week in advance, because you didn't have the information, you know, you didn't
But
understand what's going on.
nevertheless,
So-
the timing, that stands to be corrected from 2 to 4 for half an hour before the meeting started.
Right.
That's not enough for it,
Yeah,
but I could have done it in a different way.
right. So but I think that's, every situation like this is going to be a little different, because it's going to be emerging information, right? And the sands are probably shifting as you talk. I mean, that's why the information is emerging at the last minute. So. But I think, again, the guideline, you know, what it's encouraging you to do is to not hold the information to yourself and reveal it at a council meeting.
And
If that's, you know, I mean, that would just, it doesn't build trust around the council table if you make it like that. Sorry, I think you raised your hand. I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry. Okay.
Well, I just, and it's not exactly the same thing, it's just like when we have debate in council. Surprise information, and I can't remember it happening, to tell you the truth, in recent memory. But it's just like lawyers, they have to disclose the evidence to the other lawyer before they have their trial. And it's a big deal, it's a serious breach of whatever it is, protocol, or whatever they call it, to not reveal or disclose your evidence. And then, the other lawyer makes a big deal of it, and then the judge probably adjourns until they have a chance to get a better look at it. So not to belabor what you've been
Yeah.
saying, but that's, that was a tough one that happened the other day. But this surprise evidence or surprise information is, and it's always we have the opportunity to just send it to staff, defer it, or
Yeah.
do whatever we want to do with it. And sometimes we get quite, I know that happened to us at the regional district with the waste energy motion that came up. It was quite spur of the moment. We shouldn't have voted on that. I think Bill McKay, you've mentioned that many times, and it's certainly true. Thank goodness I agreed with it, but you get caught short, and you shouldn't. You should so that shouldn't happen. And that's what surprise. That was a surprise motion. And, we shouldn't have fallen for it, I guess.
That's right, and that's always the opt-out, although sometimes you're forced into a corner and you have to make a decision, but that is, sorry, Bill.
Well, this refers to courtesy to council. What about courtesy to others? What about courtesy to the public?
Yeah, I agree.
We've had 3 instances in the last 6 months where we've had surprise stuff come at us that's been purposely, or appears to be purposely, have been held behind to prevent the public from knowing. 20 minutes after an agenda for a council meeting, we're getting a friendly email from one of our colleagues saying, oh, by the way, just wanted to let you know, I'm going to bring a motion forward of quite significant, quite a high level of significance on Monday. The agenda's been published.
So then,
The public doesn't know.
yeah, so then, and this might not fit in every circumstance, but then the option for the council is to, because you have to receive it and put it on the agenda, and the option you have is to say, this is a really important item, and we think the public should be notified of it, and we'll put it on the next agenda. Now, I know that in some circumstances that's not gonna work, because there's some kind of urgent matter that you're dealing with, but this is completely within your control, right? And council should exercise that control, if you feel that way. So, this guideline, supports the essence of what you're saying, which is you should, where possible, give notice that you're going to bring new information forward. And then, you do that, comes to the table, if council thinks it's too short a time, then you should do it. So, Diane, and then I'll ask you. Oh, I'm sorry. So then, is there anything on this page, I'm assuming from the discussion that you all agree that this is a good principle, that where possible you give notice, right? That's what I heard.
I just don't believe it's strong enough.
Oh, you don't think it's strong enough? Okay, well, then is there something you would like me to, is there something you would like me to say that would strengthen that?
Prior to agenda publication.
Well, I think though that this is assuming that this is after the agenda. I mean, there are times when you find yourself in a situation where you want to bring information to the table, right? I think Fred's is a good example. And that's what this is about. So that would you keep it to yourself before, or keep it to yourself and reveal it at the meeting, or would you give the notice of your cost, that you notice of your cost that you can possibly make? So councilors endeavor to notify the mayor and city manager in advance of introducing any significant items or information. Now, maybe what I should add is the mayor and other councilors. Maybe I should add that, because that's actually what we were talking about.
Well, in the case of, one of the ones I was referring to, all of council was aware of it. The problem was the public wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. Well, but then you deal with that at your meeting, right?
But
Could you defer it?
when you've got a majority of council saying, no, let's get on with it, let's do it. There was, in my opinion, there was a very, very, there was a significant breach of the public trust
Yes.
when when you have counselors who appear to be holding information
Yeah.
so as to prevent the
Yeah.
public from having knowledge of it.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a totally legit point of view, and I'm assuming you argued that when council voted on whether or not it should be added to the agenda. And in the end, the majority of council decided to proceed. It's democracy, right? So, Diane?
Well, actually, my memory of one, I think that caused the most upset was several months ago, when it was about the, that saying no to Vancouver, Metro Mass, you know, that, I think that, that was deferred to. The majority of the council approved.
Yes?
So, the system works when council wants it.
So, without getting into the details of specific circumstances, if we can just go back to the principle here in this bullet point, is there something that I can add beyond notifying other councilors? Is there something that I could add that the council would like me to add? Or is it sufficient as it is? Yeah, I agree. The mayor, council, and the city manager. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Can I just
Yeah.
comment something?
Sure.
Just for council consideration, I mean, our procedure by law also establishes a process to introduce notice of motions and motions during
Right,
upcoming meetings.
right.
So that regulatory document is already being processed by this committee as
Yes,
well.
yes,
So beyond these guidelines,
Right.
you actually have a procedure by law that belongs to you. And you are saying to the public, we will make the commitment to make a notice of motion. So the public is aware that those
yes.
motions are going to be in the agenda. And therefore, they can prepare not only council to the discussion, but also the public to attend to those meetings.
Exactly.
But if council chooses to bring a motion, I will call it out of the blue on a Monday night, then, like Alison said, there's the option for council to consider the motion right away or just say, no, we're gonna consider this in the next agenda. Unless there's a time limit to the motion, which in many cases, it could be the case and it could be valid.
Yeah.
Where there's a time-sensitive motion that
Yeah.
if there's no deal on that meeting, then there's nothing we can do in the future, or it's gonna be too late. So in which cases, that discussion would happen in council when that motion is discussed.
Right. So in either case, to consider it at that meeting or to defer to a future meeting, you have to vote, right? You have to take an action, and that's where you'll have to have your rest of it. Okay, so then on the final page, so that again, we're back to the consequences of breaches of performance expectations. That's it. Anything else that anyone wants to alter or change?
Who's the compliance officer for that?
There is no compliance officer, so in BC, you could appoint one. And I think it's the District of North Vancouver has actually created a whole process around that, and that's an option for you. The compliance officer are you guys. This is the self-governance theme, so you have to manage this yourselves. Now, if that doesn't work, then you have this option of creating a third party to help you with this. And you probably do that in some cases. Like if you had some really, really difficult conflict, you might bring in a third party to help you manage that or to give you some advice about it. But I just did not take that step in these documents. I just wasn't convinced that it was really necessary, and I worried that it would be overly bureaucratic. But it's a legitimate step you could take. And I will note that I've had some discussions with the province, and I think in the next maybe 3 to 5 years we'll be headed in that direction. In Ontario, you must establish these third-party staff to oversee these kinds of conflicts, and this is what Rob Ford has gotten involved in this, right? But in British Columbia, that's not been the practice, it's not the legislation, and if it's not necessary, then I wouldn't go there. But it's an option for you. And if you wanted to? Well, good on you. We can do that for you. So the next document is the councillor declaration, which is pretty short and sweet. And,
Role of the mayor?
The mayor is next, I think, yeah.
oh, is it? Okay,
Page
well,
14.
come back to the, come back to the declaration. So, role of the mayor. I just want to make note that, again, these are the charter sections, and I noticed that I have this section 115 up there, which is down here, but I need to change that section number. I just noticed that yesterday, so I'm aware of that, and I'll just make that make sense.
Sorry, what are you changing?
The section number at the top, there's the section 115, it really should be 116. This is section 115, but right at the introduction here, it's not consistent, so I'll change the section number. The material, the quote is correct, the section number is wrong. Okay. Anything on that first page?